It's Tuesday, March 19th. I'm Geoff Schwartz. This is Geoff Schwartz. Just smarring you. Welcome back to our show. We are talking about NFL draft needs based off of the first week and a half-ish of free agency. There are some moves at the top that are interesting to talk about, some mock drafts that are having a bunch of trades early in the draft, maybe 4 quarterbacks, Gabe, in the first 4 picks, and we will touch on a little bit of college basketball. We're both college basketball fans. Gabe, by the way, will give you his full breakdown of the women's college basketball bracket. I will say, though, Gabe, I was doing some research on this last night for my Bear Bets podcast. I can relay this now. In the first round, the 1 and 2 seeds win by a lot, like a lot of points. I saw Stanford's favored by 35.5, I believe, against maybe Norfolk State. Like, I take Stanford there. So we'll talk all about everything to do with sports. Gabe, how you do? I like your background. You got a new background there at the studio?
I'm borrowing a background, Geoff. We wanted to start the show a little earlier, but we had a few technical issues. So I'm borrowing a setup that's used for another show. Some very close watchers and listeners might pick up on whose backup.
I feel like I know which one that is, but we won't. We
won't
play
out
guesses.
Yeah. So, but listen, I'm here to talk football because it's March.
Let's do it.
You're due in March. I've read some mock drafts. I was off last week. So, I kept up with the news, but not like to the level that you do. So there's some important changes like offensive linemen switching teams and, defensive ends switching teams, things that you can make me smarter on that I've missed. I have just noticed one team doing a lot of moves, and that's the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
Start there.
Okay, let's talk about the Bears. So it's really interesting. You have to sort of separate the Justin Fields deal. We'll talk about that in a second with what else they're doing, right? 2 things can be true at once. One is that they might not have given Justin Fields the proper amount of support around him that they could have. The other thing is also true is that Ryan Poles has done a great job since he got there a couple of years ago. He did not draft Justin Fields, by the way, of getting the roster to a place where it's pretty good for a rookie quarterback, Gabe. The Bears are drafting 1 overall. From a basic level, they traded away the number 1 pick last season to Carolina. They got DJ Moore in return, the wide receiver. They drafted a right tackle in Wright, who's really good and will be good moving forward. And they will turn that pick into Caleb Williams. And then at number 9, kind of dealer's choice, but people haven't mocked Rome Odunze. Yeah. That would be an incredible upgrade in talent, even just from that one move. You include Keenan Allen and Swift and Braxton Jones at left tackle, and there's other work to be done. I think they signed Nate Jones at right guard. There's still work to be done on the offensive line, but the offensive line is much better than it was a couple of years ago. And so Caleb Williams is coming into a really great situation. The Bears' defense is good. Shane Waldron is the OC now, who was in Seattle, who did a good job with Geno Smith. And so things are looking up for the Bears. Now, the Fields thing is interesting, right? So Fields gets traded for a 6th-round conditional, 6th-round pick to the Steelers. If he plays more than X amount of snaps, then it turns into a 4th-round pick. And look, I followed football for a while, Gabe. I know you follow it, maybe not as closely as I do. I have not seen in a while this pro sort of Fields take on a quarterback of his likeness in a long time, where quarterback wins is not a metric that I think we use very often. We talk about them, but there's many reasons why quarterbacks win and lose games, right? There are times Caleb Williams, who'll be the Bears draft pick, he scored 42 points and lost a game. He scored 45 points and lost a game in college. Not his fault, right? So quarterback wins is not a thing, but Fields has played 38 games as a starter. He's 10-28. Not terribly good. I think he's thrown 1 time in his career for over 300 yards. That's not what quarterbacks do in the National Football League now. And whenever we hear pro Fields take, it's vibes. It's like, I think he could be good. He might be good. I don't recall talking about a player like this who is, it would at best, at absolute best, he will become good, average at some point. The outlier of all the outliers in any of these talks, Alex Smith, right, who wasn't good for 3, 4, 5 years, then became good. He's the outlier. 3 years of underperforming as a passer, you don't become good in year 4, 5, and 6. The NFL told you. This is the weird disconnect, Gabe. A lot of us will, especially former players that have been in the NFL, will turn toward the NFL and say, okay, if you tell us a value on a player, we will maybe disagree with it a little bit, but we understand. But for some reason, all the former players, a lot of them, and maybe they're just afraid to say mean things about current players, they just are like, well, the NFL said he's valued a 6th-round pick as a backup. I disagree. He's going to be good at some point. When is that some point? No one took a chance on him. There were teams that had the opportunity to bring him in as a starter, and Pittsburgh has been very clear he's brought in as a backup to start. Now he might eventually start at some point this season, but no one, he was available, Gabe, and no one was willing to say, "Hey, man, come be our starter." The NFL is telling you how they feel about Fields in a league, by the way, that is desperate for quarterbacks. They're desperate for this position, and I find it so fascinating how there's sort of the NFL tells you how things are. And a lot of former players in the media seem to think Fields is going to be good for some reason, and there's no actual evidence. It's just vibes, man. It's like, he might be good one day, and I'm very fascinated by this.
Yeah, I think the problem is that this time of year, every year, we all stick our necks out and say big, outrageous things that are meant to hold up over 10 years. And the truth is, it's bad guesswork a lot of the time. We'll get to this with Aaron Donald. This time, 10 or 12 years ago, nobody was right about Aaron Donald, who's arguably the best to ever play his position. And so I think the problem is people get committed to a take that they wish they could take back. And Justin Fields, a lot of people said, oh, he's the guy. Like, oh, that's the steal. Remember when the Bears got, he was the best bargain. And they don't want to back off that take, when in fact, it's what you're saying. He's probably a good backup. Maybe he'll be a starter in the right situation in a few years, but he's not great.
No, and I don't know why we have a hard time saying that about players. And again, I understand. Look, I make no friends sometimes with things I say. I don't need any more friends, though. Look, I'm fine with the game. I got enough friends. So I just don't think Fields is good. And if he listens to this, I'd be honored to listen to our podcast. But
yeah, he's definitely
okay. He does. Schwartz doesn't think I'm good. I mean, I don't think he's good, and that's okay to say. And the NFL tells you he's not good. And so the Bears at 9, one Caleb Williams, absolutely draft Caleb Williams, no doubt about it. If Washington wants to trade up for Caleb Williams, which they might call, I think you have to do it to go to 2 and you take Drake May or Jane Daniels because you get so many picks for that. But Caleb Williams is easy number 1. And 9, go in many different directions. Let's think about the draft. Let me say this week as we go through the sort of draft needs. The top of the draft is a lot of like, I need this quarterback. We're taking this quarterback. And every now and then, it's I need a specific position. Let's take that position. But a lot of good teams, what they do, Gabe, right, is they do the best player available with an eye toward a team need. So people will say, well, the Bears at 9 don't need a wide receiver. They have Keenan Allen. They have more. They can look pass rusher, guy on defense, offensive line maybe. But at 9, if Rome Odunze is there at 9, he might be the highest graded player the Bears have on the board. The offensive lineman might be gone. Dallas Turner might be gone. And and they're going to draft Rome Odunze. So I don't know what the Bears are going to do. I think they can go offensive line. But again, you have your tackles. So you're not going interior offensive line at 9 unless you're taking a Fuaga, putting him at guard, or a Fatanu, putting him at guard. So I think they're going wide receiver if Rome Odunze is there at 9. Otherwise, they might trade back. One thing, Gabe. Let's be very clear about this. If you tweet me at Geoff Schwartz, or you comment at some point and you think about this, if you say to me, this team is trading down, you have to provide me with the trade up. I don't want to hear about your team trading down. Yes, everyone should trade down. Every team should trade down. But who's trading up? Who's trading up for someone at 9? You got to give me an answer, because we're talking about some of these teams coming up here. Like, people think Minnesota will trade to 4 for J.J. McCarthy. That's an actual plausible thing that can happen. And so if you say Arizona's going to trade back, then that's an actual example. But just to say the Bears at 9 are trading back, yeah, I'm sure they'd love to. Who is trading up and for who? So as we think about this exercise moving forward, I'm not going to say just trade down. I'm going to take the pick as it is in the mock draft. And on draft day, if they end up doing it differently, we'll discuss it then. When we do our mock draft, is our favorite show of the year in mid-April, end of April. We're not trading back. So, Gabe, that's the Bears right now. I think it's Caleb Williams and then wide receiver at 9.
Okay, fair enough. I will say, if Caleb Williams gets to go to Chicago with Keenan Allen, who is literally the best person you could possibly give a rookie quarterback, and DJ Moore, who is these are basically the two kinds of guys that Caleb Williams has needed most in his 2 most successful years at USC, is a guy who runs great routes and doesn't drop the ball. Brendan Rice was that guy for him. and a guy who can make unbelievably athletic plays with screens and like running weird routes that no one can stay near him on. He's had a few guys who can do that. You had a decent line, and I would say that 9th pick getting, if Alt or somebody slips to there, why not go there? But you're right. It's a nice situation for the Bears. They've handled their front office well. Let's move to 2, and I have to say this. If somebody's going to try to convince me that there's like some meaningful difference between Drake May and Sam Howell, they're going to have a hard job on their hands. I have absolutely no idea what the difference between those people could be. Same, by the way, for Jaden Daniels and Justin Fields. I'm sure there's some scouting report that makes them different. I don't see it. So what would they do at 2?
Well, they're taking one of the 2 quarterbacks. I mean, not to be a cop-out, right? I mean, they're taking May or Daniels. I don't have a great answer for you. I think it's Daniels. Cliff Kingsbury had Patrick Mahomes. He had Kyler Murray. Jaden Daniels' skill set looks like those players, feels like those players. Drake May doesn't. But some people have Drake May as the number 1 quarterback. So I don't know. I think, look, it's very easy. 2 and 3 are quarterback. It's one or the other. It's Drake May at 2 and Jaden Daniels at 3, or Jaden Daniels at 2, Drake May at 3. The question is that, and we'll move past 2 because Commanders are taking a quarterback to 3 game, is New England taking a quarterback at 3 or trading back? I'm gonna go kind of against my idea here, but at 3, plenty of teams can trade up. Denver could want to trade up. Minnesota could want to trade up for a quarterback. Maybe Raiders want to trade up and get a quarterback at 3. But from New England perspective, Gabe, their roster is not good right now. I mean, they have very little playmakers. If they don't view Jaden Daniels or Drake May as transcendent players, and maybe they have Bo Nix or Michael Penix graded roughly the same, then trading out of 3 would be a home run for the Patriots. Get more draft picks for now and the future, and get your quarterback next year. They have Jacoby Brissett on the roster right now. He'll get you by. You'll be competitive each week. But I think there's a real possibility that the teams I mentioned that sort of need quarterbacks, the Vikings, the Broncos, the Raiders to an extent, could say, look, we're moving up to 3, and we're stacking a quarterback right now that we like.
Yeah. I think that this is the year to do kind of what you're getting at with get yourself a Tyrod Taylor or a Jacoby Brissett, or Joe Flacco even. Obviously Jimmy G, just got signed, but like that type of guy, a guy who has started and has won, nobody's excited about, but also so what? And then draft the guy who slips. The Michael Penix feels like that guy this year. And then give yourself a chance. You still get 3 years of a rookie deal on that quarterback when it's his turn, but you don't totally punt on the first season. That feels like the move. I don't know with New England, with the giant, massive shift of Belichick not overseeing everything there, what that means for them and what kind of risks they take. But yeah, that feels like the most tradable pick in the first round to me. Anything worth saying on the Cardinals? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think four has a chance to be a trade out too, Gabe. If someone really likes JJ McCarthy, for example, JJ McCarthy is another one where like the Fields discussion where like NFL tells you one thing and everyone tells you something else. Because the NFL seems to really like McCarthy. I mean, everyone you talk to that talks to these teams says they like McCarthy. I don't see it. You rolled your eyes. You don't see it. People that I trust who watch film don't see it on the social media side, but people that cover the game, and they love McCarthy. I could see Minnesota trading up to 4 for McCarthy. Remember, they just made a move to acquire another first-round pick. According to the draft charts, their first-round pick at 11 and 23 together equal the 3rd or 4th pick, depending on what draft chart you use. So moving up to 4 to get their quarterback in the future is something Minnesota can do. But I just trading up for a quarterback has historically sort of not been fruitful lately. It worked for the Chiefs. They had a good infrastructure in place. But for the other teams, Mitch Trubisky was a trade-up, right? The Goff and Wentz were trade-ups, I believe, for both those teams. I'm sure there's other ones off the top of my head that were trade-up. The Panthers, even last season, trade-up for a quarterback. McCarthy, to me, is not someone you trade up for. It's not. And so giving up future draft picks to draft McCarthy at 4 would not be what I would do. I think if Arizona's at 4, they take Marvin Harrison Jr. and just move it along.
Yeah, every GM out there, take some free advice from JJ McCarthy, what he's known for, which is not throwing the ball. It's sitting there in a Zen-like position, listening to 10-minute headspace or whatever he's doing there pregame. Do that before you make this pick and come out clear-headed and go get yourself a pass rusher or a giant offensive lineman the kinds of players that are going to land on these next few teams. The Chargers are a fascinating team to look at 5. And a lot of rumors there because they've completely undone all of what excited us over the last few years with all the offensive weapons. Everyone is gone. We already hit on Allen, but also Mike Williams and Austin Eckler. The jokes for the last week have been about Justin Herbert, who he's going to even throw to. They missed at wide receiver on somebody who seemed like a no-brainer last year in Johnson. Do they go back to wide receiver again? Do they just kind of keep on going with offensive line? They have playmakers on defense, but you can never have enough. Like, what do you think for the Chargers?
Well, I had pegged John Alt here, the big tackle from Notre Dame, like immediately. But they have to draft a wide receiver now, right? Get rid of Mike Williams.
You think
get
so?
rid of Keenan Allen.
Quentin Johnston was a bust, and do you want to risk it again?
I think you have to. What do you do? There's no one left to sign. You got to give Herbert some help. The tackles are not bad in San Diego. I'll say that forever. In Los Angeles. And I think you have to draft all to move him to right tackle or move Slater to right tackle, which I disagree with. He's an all-pro right and left tackle. He played well last year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, did he break his hand 2 years ago? I think he played well last year. Just draft Malik Neighbors at 5 and be done with it. Like, that feels simple to me. Again, another trade opportunity. Yeah. If Harrison goes 4, the Chargers could certainly move back into wide receiver, get Brian Thomas, and then get an extra draft pick for next year. So, again, the trades are Minnesota and Denver and the Raiders trading up for a quarterback. That's what the trade would be. So I think really the Giants at 6 as their next are pretty fun because they could go really best player available. They could go with wide receiver, Gabe. They could certainly make a play for offensive lineman or right tackle, move Evan Neal inside. And if they love J.J. McCarthy, man, feels Daniel Jones 2.0-ish, they could pull the trigger on McCarthy too. Jones has one more year left, and that feels like an option for the Giants. I don't think they're going to do it, but certainly an option for the Giants. I would say wide receiver, offensive line, and then quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go with like your third khaki-wearing quarterback in a row. You go Eli to Daniel Jones to J.J. McCarthy. Come on, man. Give me something a little more exciting than that.
I'm with you, but I think that's what look, I could see them having like a really super high grade on, Latham and putting him at right tackle, the kid out of Alabama, and moving Evan Neal inside. I mean, there's a possibility they have again a really high grade on one of these offensive linemen, and that's who they drafted 6.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're into that territory with the coaching staff and the quarterback where everyone's in like blame mode and self-preservation mode and like come up with a way that it's not your fault and you last another season. That feels like where we are with the Giants. So I think they probably go with something they know they need, like a reliable pass rusher or lineman, and then just let Daniel Jones take the blame for a bad season. That's what I guess, but who knows? Do we have to talk about the Titans? Honestly, like
they're drafting offensive lineman.
Great. Okay. Good. Offensive lineman goes to Tennessee. They'll be 9-8, and who cares? Falcons are kind of interesting because people love to talking about Kirk Cousins. I don't think anyone actually likes talking about Kirk Cousins. I'm tired of all the Kirk Cousins memes. I get it. Do we have to talk about the Falcons and pretend they're a real team? They feel like they're made for fantasy football and nothing else. Okay, good.
I think so they have a chance to
pass rusher.
Well, I think I took the Mitchell kid, the corner from Toledo, like plus 380 to go to the first defensive player drafted. The Falcons could go pass rusher or corner here, and Mitchell's up there, a plus 3. I like that number, plus 380. So I think they go defense here. Defense, or again, this is a prime trade out candidate with the teams that want a quarterback.
If any of those previously mentioned guys slipped to here.
Correct. Yes.
If somehow Jaden Daniels is hanging around, or
it'd be McCarthy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My on again, off again team, the Jets. I'm skipping the Bears because we hit them. So they're sitting there at 9, assuming they don't move. You think it's Rome Odunze if he gets to them?
Yes.
I don't know if he would, but whatever. We don't need to talk more Bears. Jets. All right. So they signed Tyron Smith, which sounds cool, but like whatever. A friend of mine, Chris Healy, shout out, good follow on Twitter, by the way, works over at Fox. He said he's a very optimistic Jets fan, which I am not. And he said, Hall of Fame left tackle, future Hall of Famer running back in Breece Hall, future Hall of Famer receiver in Garrett Wilson, future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. What's not to like? I don't know anyone else on earth who feels that way about the Jets. So what do they need right now?
Well, they got Morgan Moses too at right tackle. So you think tackle is set, man. I wouldn't be surprised if they went offensive line here at 10 still. But it does feel like Brock Bowers could be a Jet at 10 to help
The
Aaron
first Brock
Rodgers.
Bowers mention.
I think I wrote that for Fox Sports a couple weeks ago before the Tyron Smith and the Morgan Moses stuff, because it seems anything you read out of New York is that Aaron Rodgers is in charge, right, Gabe? Like, it's Aaron Rodgers. Wouldn't he advocate for Brock Bowers over an offensive lineman? Like give me a tight end. Give me someone I can throw to. Also, are we certain he's not running for president yet? Is that like we certain he's not the VP? Is that put to bed yet?
I think that we can rule that out. Yes. Looks like someone named Shanahan got the gig.
I feel like you would have voted for an RFK Rodgers ticket, maybe. Just to shake things up a little bit.
I would like to have that conversation away from these microphones, but I'm not going to dignify that comment here in a live setting. I will just say that
I can just see you being like, you know what, they're just different. I want different. No, I don't think you vote for
I will acknowledge that my FU to the system is a real feeling that I have. I'm not sure that exact ticket is the one I'm looking for. So do we think Aaron Rodgers is going to play and be healthy for a whole season, or do we think he'll get distracted and want to live in darkness halfway through the year?
You know what, man? I think I said this last year. I just don't care.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't care. Who cares? Like, they're not winning the AFC. They might not win the division. I don't find the storyline very interesting. You have an aging quarterback off Achilles injury, has 1 year left on his deal. That's the story. With a team, with an organization that has routinely underperformed when given opportunities to perform. I don't know, Gabe. Like, that sums it up, right?
Yep. I'm not the biggest wrestling guy, so my history might be a little off. Maybe you can help me. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets feel like when that point in Hulk Hogan's career where he was like, oh God, I got to come up with something, and he turned heel, and he joined what were they called? Like, not NWA, but he like went bad, and he tried to like get some relevance back that way. And I was like, no, man, you're Hulk Hogan. Like, don't do that. Just end it, and let's remember you as what you were. I feel like that's where we are with Aaron Rodgers. And yeah, I'm with you. I don't care. They're not going to be a good team. Even if he plays well, they're not going to be that good. So who cares?
Yeah.
Minnesota Vikings have come up. The Vikings kind of seem like the Jets of the Midwest. Even if they string together a decent regular season, I don't see them going anywhere. So they're most likely going to be starting a rookie quarterback, right? What are their other options, do we think, at quarterback if they don't draft someone?
Well, the Vikings can do the thing where they're like tanking but competitive with Sam Darnold. Like, look, we're in every game, Gabe. We're close. Yeah. And then take one quarterback next year. The Broncos at 12. We talked about the Broncos at 12 are really fascinating because Bo Nix would fit what Sean Payne has wanted in the past.
Oh, there you go. You got to bring up Bo Nix.
But I don't think he's worth the 12th pick overall. I feel very strongly it's not worth the 12th pick overall. But if I were to tell you you could find your franchise quarterback, he's there at 12. Do you take him at 12? Or do you wait till the second round, hope no one else decides to take Bo Nix? We hear about, like, Sean Payton wants a processor, on time with the ball, accurate. Those are three things Bo Nix does very well. I don't think it's the strongest arm. I think at times he can be too robotic. But he's not, to me, the 12th best player in the draft either, Gabe. So if they go in that direction, I'm not sure that that's like the best draft pick at 12 for them.
Yeah, I saw, you mentioned his name already, but I think it was Daniel Jeremiah's latest mock had Brock Bowers falling to 12. And he made a point, which was Sean Payton could use him the way he used to use Michael Thomas, kind of in that slot, big body role. Technically different positions, but, Sean Payton has always kind of figured out a way to use wide receivers and tight ends interchangeably, it seems. And maybe Brock Bowers is quick enough that he could be that guy.
Probably if he's there at, yeah, I could see that. I mean,
And
could we
by the
just say
way, an
using
argument against
like Jimmy Graham, not just
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, same. That's a better comp. This is also because you said Aaron Rodgers would like a tight end. I just want to point out, I don't ever think of Aaron Rodgers in tight ends. He has always complained about his wide receivers, but he's
Yeah,
made.
but he's. I saw a list though that was actually interesting. He is used to tight end a lot. It's not something that like they talk about often, but the tight end and whatever offense he's been in, here it is right here. It's it's a lot of receptions. 53 last in 2022, 2020 52, 2018 55. It was like every other year. 2016 60, 58, 61 with Finley. Like he has years where he throws the tight end a lot.
Yeah, but those are like, early 2000s tight end numbers. Nowadays, if you got an elite tight end is catching 85 balls or more, you're getting 10 touchdowns
Well,
out of a
yeah,
tight end.
but he has not had that guy yet.
Yeah, so I don't think he's going to force them to get one. We got the time saver section of the draft here. I don't think we need to get into like the meat and potatoes of best player available for the teams that
No,
just missed the playoffs or the teams that got bounced in round one.
no.
That's fun to play out when we do a mock draft. But let's get to a couple teams that are pretty interesting, and I bet you have some personal thoughts on. So, real quick, the Miami Dolphins, who seemed oh so close, but yet pretty far. Any guess as to what they need? Obviously, people will want to make it a Tua storyline. Do we really think they're replacing the quarterback in the draft?
Just want to make it clear that our producer Hank Groberg put quarterback in here. Dolphins fans. I didn't put quarterback.
Right.
He put quarterback.
I know. And
No,
I asked it in a way that I don't think that's real, but
no. I think they go. They just address center in free agency. I could see offensive line here being a spot for them. Pass rusher being a spot. They could take a pass rusher here. Yeah, I would say that's quarterback is probably very low on the list of things that they would go after, especially at that position in the draft.
okay. I'm going to skip the Cowboys because I don't care because we kind of agreed against all common sense. We are not going to talk about the Cowboys unless we have to.
Correct.
The Baltimore Ravens, however, are interesting because I think most listeners of this show care a little bit more about the Chiefs, and the Ravens are very obviously still a threat there.
Yeah.
So, what do the Ravens do with the? Got to just be the Chiefs in mind right now.
Yeah, I didn't. Offensive line, they've had some losses this year in free agency. Offensive line feels like a spot they need to address. I wouldn't put past and draft another wide receiver. If best player available, Gabe, they're sitting at 28, right? 28 with 29, I should say, with the option of a wide receiver. I could see that where they go.
Do you think they learned something through sort of the bad luck of losing the tight end and then finding out that other guy was pretty good?
Yeah.
2 tight end sets give likely more reps this year.
I would have to imagine that would be smart football.
Yeah, that feels like a free draft pick. Like you just found out that a guy you didn't have to spend much on is actually worth starting.
All right. So very quickly, a lot of times the best teams, because they're good at drafting, have these guys that just fall into, right? In rounds 4, 5, 6, 7. You're like, oh, guy's pretty good. Chiefs, Trey Smith and Isaiah Pacheco. I think Bolt's a 3rd round pick, the middle linebacker. They have a bunch of 7th round corners and safeties that have played well. That's what championship teams do.
Yeah, I don't think that the Niners are something we need to talk about. They're in a fortunate position that they have a young, strong team that's honestly a player or 2 away from being the Super Bowl champions. Yeah. I don't think like a draft pick is changing that. It feels like luck and health will change their fate, but they can go for the thing a rich team does, a lineman or some specialty
the Niners,
player.
I think would draft. I think Niners would take Jordan Morgan from Arizona at their tackle, is my guess here.
Sure, and They slide him right in and he makes them 5% better, and that might be enough.
Yeah.
So let's talk Chiefs for a second. They go get Hollywood, which I think will make for the most polarizing moment in every fantasy football draft this season, as some people get jealous and other people crack up and point fingers. Other people say, I didn't know he was on that team. What do you think of him in that lineup, and what do you think they do with that final pick of the first round?
So I've been thinking they need a big wide receiver, like sort of like a Mike Evans type, like a bigger possession type of guy. But they never really had that, right? Because Tyreek Hill, when he was there, he was one. Sammy Watkins at times was two, but he's not a big wide receiver. And they've had MVS who can't catch the ball except for the playoffs. He's great in playoffs. He's now gone. He's off the team. Juju was bigger. Juju's a bigger wide receiver, but Rashee Rice fits that role. Maybe Hollywood Brown fits the role they need, and they don't need to get a big guy. I mean, I think at 32, we've seen over the years the Chiefs have used this as a luxury pick. They drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, drafted a defensive end last year that was sort of out of nowhere at 32 when they needed wide receiver help. I think it's BPA for them, man. I think they have left tackle set with Wanya Morris from last year, who was a rookie, and then put Taylor right tackle. But if there's a left tackle they like, I could see left tackle going here. I could see wide receiver going here. If L'Jarius Sneed is gone, maybe they look at corner. If there's a corner they like, he's not gone, by the way. If he is gone, maybe they think corner, Gabe. Those are, I think, all the possibilities for Kansas City at 32.
In a couple mock drafts, including the one Hank is doing in his head and in our Google Doc, a couple wide receivers from Texas slide to 32.
Yeah, no one likes those guys.
Okay, so they're just fast.
No one
right?
likes Texas guys. Yeah, no one likes Texas guys.
Is there any chance at all, that the Chiefs say, wait a minute, we're going to trade up because Brock Bowers is the next Travis Kelce? It'd be nice to put him, teach him how to do what Travis Kelce does so that we never have a break in the action. And Pat has a Travis Kelce in the lineup for the next 6 years.
They only have like 6 picks in the draft, I think. I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think they can put enough together to go get him.
They could. I don't think they're going to. Okay. They'll probably give up. They have to give next year's first to move up. They're not doing that for tight end.
Okay, interesting. I mentioned this earlier, Geoff. Any other draft thoughts for now? We'll have a few more chances to do this before the actual draft. All right.
No, let's talk about draft episode.
Yeah, let's talk about a guy that everybody got wrong. I mentioned it earlier. This time, back before he was drafted at a Pitt, Aaron Donald was given pretty bad grades. I could read it off to you, but essentially his weaknesses were listed, and almost every one of them has been proven very wrong. But, questioning his body type, questioning his, read of certain situations, all this silly stuff. And he was the most dominant player at his position for a decade.
I mean, he's like 5'11", 275. I mean, I understand what people were skeptical about his play in the NFL. Look, I think 2 things about Aaron Donald retiring. One is that I've never seen a player who could defeat a double team better than Aaron Donald at that position. And what's wild about it is sometimes it wasn't even just going through 2 guys. It was that he beat the guard so fast of it upside his outside shoulder that the center couldn't even get to help him. It was wild. He was that good. He beat double teams all the time. But secondly, Gabe, I have a lot of respect for players that retire on their own terms. A lot of us play too long. We try to hold on. We try to just play an extra year or 2, and we end up getting cut and having a miserable experience to end our careers. That's how most of us go out, by the way, like I did, injured, beat up, and overweight. You're like, I should have stopped. When I knew I should have stopped, I tried to continue one more year, and it was a mistake, okay? That's how most players end. Very rarely do you get to walk off when you want. Very rarely do you get Andrew Whitworth, right? You win a championship at Rams, you just walk off in the sunset. John Elway, walk off in the sunset. That doesn't happen quite often in that manner. So Aaron Donald saying, look, man, I've had enough of football. I made my money. I'm going to leave. I'm going to do what I want to do now. I'm done with football. I admire that game because he could have easily played for 5 to 7 more years, made at least 9 figures, and just collected those checks, played, and he still would have played well to the best of his ability, but he decided, look, man, I'm done. Football's not for me anymore. I respect the heck out of guys, Gabe, that can just make that assessment about their life and their mind about football and just walk away.
Yeah, it is great to see. I'm glad he made enough and feels confident enough to just call it when it's time. I don't have the experience you have of playing in the NFL or maybe playing a little longer than you feel like you should have. But
Yeah,
I do have the experience of going to bachelor parties that are scheduled for 3 nights, and after night 2, you're like, that's it. This is time. This
I'm
is when we
done.
should walk
Oh yeah,
away. We've had a lot of fun. If we do this again, things could go wrong, and that would be my equivalent. It's like that's when you walk. That's when you get on the plane. Don't stay the third
you're
night.
out of here. You're
Yeah,
yeah, you're out of here. You haven't had a podcaster go a little bit too long in your business, just like yeah, man, should have retired 6 months ago. No,
yeah.
doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, oh yeah, that happens in the pine. That's happening right now as I continue to babble. But I do have to ask you 2 more things, Jeff, that are very
Okay,
relevant.
okay.
One, are you filling out a women's bracket this year because this is the year
Ooh.
for the women's bracket?
Okay. South Carolina, I wager on them to win. I think they're going to win.
Okay.
But USC plus 4,000 I gave out on Bear Bets because
Mhm.
it seems like the numbers don't match up. They're the 1 seed in the West,
Yeah.
and they have like the 8th best odds to win the championship. I don't understand that. Now, I think they're not beating South Carolina. I don't think anyone is. They're not big enough to beat South Carolina, but they got a player that can do it herself, and that's I think important in this tournament. Um, people are going to bet Iowa. Iowa's not beating South Carolina. Sorry, they're not. They're not beating. They're not beating them. We saw last year a more physical team at LSU took it to them. That's what South Carolina is, but better. And so I have not filled out a women's bracket yet, but the Pac-12 tends to do pretty well in these games. So I might go Pac-12 heavily on this. The 1 seeds typically end up being in the Final Four on the women's side very often. So it's South Carolina, Iowa, Texas, USC are the 4 1 seeds, and then what's I don't know, Stanford, UCLA are 2 seeds. I forget who else is a 2 seed, but I'm paying attention,
Well,
Gabe. I'm paying attention.
interesting. You have UConn and LSU lurking around as 3 seeds, and
UConn's a
those
2
are
seed, I
usually
think.
are they a 2? I thought they were 3.
But
LSU is a 3.
LSU is certainly a 3 seed, yeah,
Yeah.
because they might
So
end up playing Louisville in the second round, which is where Haley Van Lith is obviously came from.
yeah, well,
I'm sorry, Notre
I
Dame and
took
Ohio State are 2 seeds. You're right. UConn's not a
they
2
were
seed.
3. Yeah, it took me by surprise, and USC would have to go through them, and so I drew USC all the way to the final until I ran into South Carolina, and I just went with the homer pick and took USC. But I think strictly from a numbers perspective, because they have a player who I've watched a lot, and I've said since the first time I watched her, like, oh my God, this woman is different. She's playing the game differently than anyone else, including Caitlin Clark, by the way, because Juju Watkins can get to the rim
Yeah,
easily against anyone and finish. Um, I I think she could Steph Curry her way through this whole tournament, but she's
yeah,
got a few other really nice players with her. So I think they could take a lot of people by surprise,
yeah.
and they're red hot right now and just win the whole damn thing. Could happen.
It's certainly possible. I'm going to use Juju Watkins as a reason why the Pac-12 broke up. All right, I'm going to use her for this example. Every week, Caitlin Clark is on Fox, NBC, Peacock. Like millions of people are watching her play. I think nationally, Gabe, no one knows who Juju Watkins is because she's on Pac-12 Network, and so it's why the Pac-12 is no longer a thing, right? Can't watch the network, man. How many people do you think that they pay attention to college basketball? They have a knowledge of basketball. They know who Caitlin Clark is. They know who Angel Reese is, obviously. They know who South Carolina is, and that might be because they just fought last week, and it was a fun fight for everyone to watch. That brother coming on the court was just absolutely incredible. He won on the court and looked at the South Carolina center and was like, I'm not doing this. But Juju Watkins is a legitimate player of the year candidate, and no one could ever watch her play, Gabe. No one can watch her play.
Yeah.
And this is why the Pac-12, it's obviously not the reason why per se, but next year, Juju will be on Fox. She'll be on NBC. She'll be on Peacock. She'll be on, look, I obviously work for Fox Sports. Like the TikTok stuff they're doing with Caitlin Clark is getting outrageous numbers. That will be Juju next season, right? Like that'll be
Yes.
something that we as a company focus on. And that is why USC left the Pac-12 conference. because like they don't get the amount of eyeballs they need because of the Pac-12 network. That's a great example, in my opinion, because USC shouldn't be plus 4,000 to win the championship at like the 8th best odds. That they should have a player that can, to your point, and get them all the way there. On the men's side, very quickly, Gabe, I think UConn repeats. I look at the bracket. I have it right here in front of me. I mean, they have a tough road in the East. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure North Carolina makes it out of the West. I'm not even sure in that bracket. I have Arizona losing early, and I have Alabama losing early. St. Mary. I don't even know who's going to be on the other side. I mean, is Houston going to do it with their offense? They have lots of lulls. I'm not looking at just that game on Sunday. Marquette. No, they're not beating UConn. They can put up a fight. Obviously, they played this season already a couple times. I don't trust Purdue to beat them either. So I have UConn winning the first back-to-back championship since 07.
Well, that would be cool. I'm in a tourney challenge with a lot of people from Connecticut. So it stinks because I also think UConn wins it all. And I know I'm not differentiating myself from the bulk of the people. And usually the only way to win one of these is to pick somebody that nobody else has. Just hope you get lucky. So going with UConn in a thing with a bunch of people in Connecticut doesn't help you much.
I mean, the other option is like you take Auburn out of the East because they're a team that Ken Palm has highly rated, even though they have a weird amount of they're 3-7 in quad one. They were 1-7 until 2 weeks ago, till last week, till they beat two teams in the SEC championship. But you take Auburn possibly out of that region. I could see Creighton. I have Oregon beating them in the round 2, but Creighton can be a team who's very hot and very cold. Kentucky plays no defense. Maybe Kentucky, Gabe, just like they play their best, 6 games of the season and win a championship. They certainly have 4 NBA players to do so. So it's possible other teams can do that. Out of the Midwest bracket, I said Creighton, I think, for Midwest, yeah. Kentucky, maybe out of the West, Mississippi State beats Carolina in round 2 and makes a run. So it's possible. I don't think anyone can match up with UConn in the way that they need to win the championship.
I like that you mentioned Auburn and Bruce Pearl. That's our guy.
He's your guy? You work with him?
Our guy. No, he's our guy.
Well, yeah, he's our. Yeah, I know. I get that part of it. I disagree with some of his politics, but I'm with you on that.
I don't know his politics. Get it. That's a good point. I guess I don't know his politics. Maybe I shouldn't say he's our guy. All right. Last thing.
But he's our guy. He is a man. He is a Hebrew. He is a part of the tribe. Yes. It's okay to have people that disagree with you. So it's totally fine.
Now I got to go.
My little league.
Okay. I want to know what I may or may not disagree with Bruce Pearl on, but first I need to hear why are you texting me midweek saying, I know you're on vacation. I just want to make sure we get to Little League when you're back.
Well, so you coach, right?
Oh yeah.
Are you the head coach on your kids' teams?
I am the head coach. Yes.
Okay. So if a dad was like, okay, I know. Oh, I guess you're right about that. I keep forgetting they're the same age. If a dad says, "Hey, man, I'd like to help you out," what would your answer be?
Sure. Here's how that works, though. There's some rules.
Okay, let me hear the rules.
I mean, so I don't want to get into too much of the detail, but essentially in practice, it's kind of up to me. But in a game,
it's your team
on the field with other kids. Officially, there's like you have to, double check some things with the league. You have to make sure that person is known to be on the field with everyone else. So there's a little bit of bureaucracy before you just go, yeah, sure, man, show up.
Okay. So my son's coach, my son is playing in technically it's the minor leagues for Little League. He's 10. He's in League 10. He's only 9 years old. The coach sent a long email out. Nice email. Like the coach is nice. Don't get me wrong. Nice email. Like, here's what I'm trying to accomplish for the season. He seems very much into like, we're giving everyone a chance to pitch. Everyone gets to hit in this league. Like, we're going to just have the most fun. We might not try to win every game, but we're going to get everyone to play. You know what I mean? Like that type of coach, which I'm fine with. I think winning is sort of nice at this age to try to win, Gabe, but okay, fine. You want to give everyone a chance to do whatever they can, fine. But he said, he's like, I could use parent involvement. So I emailed him back, hey, coach, I'd love to help out. I can't promise I'll be there every practice or every game, but I coached some high school baseball in the past, and I like helping out. So if you need me, I'm here to help. And by the way,
Yeah.
when I mentioned I coach high school baseball, uh, I was a pitching coach for in high school here in really in South Carolina. Went to the state championship. I was the varsity pitching coach. We sent 3 guys to college that were pitchers. Like, I'm not a schmo. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to be a major league manager, but I can help out. The answer was no. I coach a team by myself was the answer.
Wait,
Yeah.
what? I thought he asked for help.
I don't know, man. He's got no assistant coaches, just him by himself. One dad is out there sort of like helping out. We've only had 3 practices because of rain. We've rained out 2 practices, but yeah, don't want my help. I mean, it's less for me to do. Don't get me wrong. My son's about to come home from school right now. We're going to throw by ourselves. We're working some pitching stuff. I chalked out. I measured 46 feet, chalked it out. Like, we're ready to go when he gets home, right where the mound's going to be. He wants to pitch. We're working on it. He's actually, dude, he's a good kid, man. He works his tail off. But yeah, just didn't want my help, Gabe. Like, nope.
Well, there's a lot to. I actually feel more comfortable talking about RFK and Aaron Rodgers on the air than this particular topic, where I have a lot of thoughts I'll share with you. But I think that some parents get pretty protective about that. I don't like to be that way. I have a lot of guys.
He's also
all called
not
coach.
a parent. Not a parent. In this league, most of the coaches don't even have kids on the team. They just coach.
All right. No,
it's a very
coaches
intense
on my team are other dads on the team.
No, dude. So like the team, like the upper league, the majors, essentially, you get drafted on the majors team. You stay there till you're old, till you leave, till you're a league 13. And so the coaches on those teams have coached those teams for like 20 years. Like, they just, like, the coach on my son's team last year, his kid was on the team. He left the league because he couldn't coach his son on the level up because there's no coaching opportunities to coach his kid. So he just let to play travel ball instead to coach his son. It's crazy, huh?
You might be in a strange league, Geoff, because in my league, which is
it's a
very
intense league.
Yeah. In our league, you coach your kid. And obviously, at the higher up they get, the more serious people take it. And obviously, some people take it too seriously, but fine. I'll probably be that guy, so I can't judge. But like, the expectation is the best coach for the team with a kid on the team that's who's in charge. And I'm sure you share responsibility more and more as you get older.
Yeah. No, legitimately, I've always coached teams of my own. I went and found the email. So yeah. I don't know. That's what it is.
Well, Geoff, Hank made a good joke. I want to share it. You just said a moment ago, I'm no schmo. And I agree. You're no schmo. So maybe you should be RFK Jr.'s running mate. If Aaron Rodgers wants to play football, you are retired. You have time on your hands. You were a former high school pitching coach. That's a pretty good qualification.
I think RFK and I will disagree a lot on some of our policies here, buddy.
All right.
I'm just not a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I'm a sheep. I'm a sheep. I follow along. I gotta know the why. One of my good friends is a conspiracy guy, and I ask him all the time, like, why? There's never a why, Gabe. Never a why, or the why is some like obscure another conspiracy. That's all I want. I'm a why guy. Tell me the reasons why you believe in a conspiracy. Some I believe in. I believe in some. I don't believe in anything. And then I don't believe in any conspiracies. But like, just give me the why. And there's never a why. Never a why, Gabe. The why is another conspiracy. That's my rant on conspiracies.
All right. I am.
I know we differ on that.
Guy. Yeah,
I know we differ on that a little bit. But is that because it entertains you, or you like you? I think it's more for you, just like to laugh and have entertainment on. I have a buddy who like believes in a lot of. We go back and forth on it a lot.
Let's put it this way. I've never gone down the rabbit holes that it seems like Aaron Rodgers has gone down.
Yeah.
I have not been to those. I've not been down, but I'll tell you that I'm less judgmental of him for quote unquote doing his own research than some people are. I don't want to go down those rabbit holes. I'm not sure I believe that there's anything down there, but I'm not like, I don't immediately think you're a jackass for believing that something is a little different than it was reported. And I'm not, but 100% clear. I'm not in any way speaking about Sandy Hook. That was crazy a week or two ago. Nothing. I'm not even hinting at that. Some of the other weird stuff that Rogers is talking
Yeah. No. I think it's okay to question authority. I think it's okay to question how things are, but I got to know the why, man. That's it. I just got to know the why. Tell me the why. Tell me the why. I could roll with it. All right, buddy. We did it. We did a show.
Yes,
anything else on your mind?
We survived. No, I don't. You're trying to get me canceled, and I don't want to do that. So I think we wrap it up here, and we just say fight on. And I'm taking the kids to see Juju if they make the second round, which they should. So I'll be there.
Where's it at? In LA?
Yeah, that's the nice thing about the women's tourney. That, some of the top seeds get to host some games. Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next week. That's our show. Hope you enjoyed it and enjoy March Madness. Lots of gambling action. Gambling, legal North Carolina now, Gabe. Whew, your boy's gone hard last week. So wish me luck this weekend. That's not a problem. Talk to you guys next week, everyone. Take care.